Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. This is January 7th, 2025, the first City Council meeting in the City of Mableton. We're delighted to have everyone here to what we all hope will be a prosperous and fantastic 2025 for everybody. There's volume check. I'll speak up a little bit, but just to make sure that we get a volume check for everybody. All right, with that being said, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Mayor Owens.
Present.
Council Member of District 1, Ron Davis.
Present.
Council Member of District 2, Damien Oladapo.
Present.
Council Member District 3 and Mayor Pro Tem Keisha Jeffcoat.
Present.
Council Member District 4, Patricia Alk.
Present.
Council Member District 5, TJ Ferguson.
Present.
And Council Member District 6, Deborah Herndon.
Present.
Quorum present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. With that, we will continue with the agenda. Councilman Davis, would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance? In the invocation, please, sir?
Yes.
Thank you.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you, God. We thank you for another day. We thank you for another year, Father God. We just pray that your mighty hand rest upon us to guide us as we lead this city, Father God, to guide the residents, Father God, to just give us what we need, Father God, to just lead in integrity, in transparency, in unity, Father. So we just thank you for all that you do, Father God. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Councilwoman Mayor Pro Tem Jeffcoat, if you could please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand if you can.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Council, you've been provided a copy of the agenda that we will use for tonight. Prior to this meeting, at this point in time, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as written. A second.
Thank you. Motion's been made and duly seconded. All those in favor of approving the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, we're going to now move forward by opening up a public hearing. This public hearing is for ordinance creating Chapter 12 of Solid Waste Management of the City of Mableton Code of Ordinances to establish procedures for the collection, disposal, and recycling of solid waste and for other lawful purposes. Tonight we're going to be having a public hearing. At our last meeting of the year, we actually had our first reading of this. Any ordinance that the city has requires 2 readings. And so what we've done to make sure that we have sufficient time to review and take feedback and be able to act on that, we've split this up into 3 parts. So it was last meeting was the first reading, tonight was the public hearing, and then from there we will move into feedback, deliberation, updates, and then we'll be voting on this hopefully on the 22nd at our next meeting. So I do want to make note, our city clerk can give some specifics around the hearing, but I wanted to make sure that everyone understands kind of the context and where we are and what we're doing. When you come up to speak, again, she will kind of give the details around it. But as far as the mayor and council, our role here today is to listen diligently to what you're saying, pros, cons, and indifferences, and then be able to take that information, that feedback, and then with support of staff, being able to work through an agenda or work through an ordinance that works absolute best for the city, for the residents, and for those vendors that will be taking part in this program. With that being said, it's been, this is critical, this is key, because this is also one of the services that becoming a new city that the city of Mableton has decided to take over. going back to our feasibility study from the beginning, this was one of the services that was clearly defined and called out. That was one of those services that the people of the city wanted. They felt that there was a need to be able to have oversight in this program, but also the fact that to exist as a city, you must have 3 services. And this is one of those 3 services. So with that, Madam Clerk, I would like for you to kind of lay out whatever rules or parameters for this public hearing. And then, Madam Attorney, I don't know if you had anything to add at this point in time.
No, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, if you could.
Thank you, Mayor. We have adopted decorum rules about public hearings, and there is a time limit of 20 minutes for a public hearing. Of course, the mayor and council can make a motion to waive the time if needed, but right now we have a time limit of 20 minutes, which includes the for and against side, but we are not calling it out in that order. So we're just asking if you would please keep your limits to about 2 minutes, please. That way that'll give us plenty of time to hear. We have about 10 cards here. And the first person to speak is Brian Warren. And 2 to 3 minutes would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Yes.
All righty, I'll try to speak really quick. Good evening. I was invited to come by the mayor. We've met on occasions. My name is Brian Warren. I run Custom Disposal Service. We're a Cobb County garbage company that's been in Cobb County for 40 years. I'm also the president of the Cobb Haulers Association. In 2008, I served on the City of Milton's Solid Waste Planning Committee. So I have some experience with setting up ordinances for y'all's plan to submit to the state for approval. Anyway, so I've been reviewing the ordinance. There's a lot of things in there that I've never seen before that would be new for our company. I'm representing many companies in Cobb County, probably about 16 different companies that service Cobb. I'm not exactly how many are serving the city of Mableton within the city limits, but several have contacted me over the last couple weeks with some concerns. So anyway, I'm here to introduce myself to you guys. I'm really hoping that maybe between now and the time you guys vote, we can still massage a few things and I can input some concerns that I see that could be potential issues, not just for haulers, but for you guys too. And on the administration side, what all you are gonna have to keep up with for everything that you're requesting. But I do want to say that we as haulers are very grateful that you are moving in this direction where each of us are allowed to maintain our customer base, and also the citizens are allowed to still choose who they like and who they've used for many years. So we're grateful for that. So anyway, I'm not here to criticize or anything like that. I just want to say that I'm here if you want an opinion on something or in the industry that you're not maybe familiar with, or what different cities do and what they have done in the past, and any pitfalls that I might see, even on y'all's behalf. Like I see some things that's going to be a lot of work for you guys to do, and I might have some other suggestions that might accomplish the same goals, but a little bit simpler. But anyway, I just wanted to come and introduce myself to you guys, and hopefully we get a chance to talk again before you guys vote on this and maybe fine-tune a few things if possible. I know we don't have time for me to get into any of them tonight, but anyway, thank you for your time. Thank you for all y'all's service, and we wish the city the most success that it can have starting out. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Warren.
The next person is Carolyn Landrum, and after Carolyn, there's Brenda Nash, but Carolyn at this time. It may be Carolyn. Please state your name.
I'm Carolyn Landrum, and I've been a resident of Austell for 53 years, same house, and have done business with Quality Sanitation, an exemplary company, for the last 35 years since they started. Some of the regulations that y'all are planning to put into effect on them would be unreasonable for a mom and pop operation. Like the daily reports that you want done. They have 200 customers, that's 40 per day. Try to keep all of this information for them for every delivery. It's unreasonable, it's unfair. The 13.5% off the gross for commercial customers and 6.5% off the gross for residential customers, and then tell them that they can't charge but 50% to the customer. The rest of that has to come out of their pocket. They operate on a shoestring budget anyway. It's not right. They work hard. They're wonderful people. They were kind enough when I had a bad knee to, start picking up in our driveway. My husband had COPD. He ended up dying of 3 types of cancer this past year. They came to the funeral, or at least for the visitation, I think, because they were working during the day. They couldn't come for the funeral. But they're the kind of people that you want in the city, and you want them to be able to make a living in the city. You want to keep them as neighbors. You want to keep them as friends. They give the best service of anybody that I know. And they're just fine, upstanding people. My daughter worked for a dump truck company, and a lot of these daily reports were going to be imposed on that company that she worked for. The owners told the people, you can't do this. You're trying to get us to give information like over-the-road truckers who might have, 3 or 4 stops across the country one way, 3 or 4 stops coming back. Easy peasy. Not 40 per day for 5 days every week. Unreasonable. I just think it would be a real shame if they were to have to go out of business because they couldn't afford to do this. And I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but if they can only charge 50% of the charges that they're being taken off of the top of their income, it just doesn't compute. Plus, $250 for another business license, all of these other charges that I read about that I don't remember. How do you expect, little businesses to stay in business? If you want to grow, you got to be reasonable.
Thank you, ma'am.
Brenda Nash. Following Brenda Nash is Becky Flaherty, Flaherty, will be after Becky. Okay.
Good evening.
Brenda. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Brenda Nash, and I reside at 6300 Queen Mill Road, which is in District 3. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to express my concerns about the solid waste management ordinance that is currently under review. During the infancy of our city, while we were in the process of electing our officials, I had the opportunity to engage with many residents opposed to cityhood. Their concern was that more government was going to lead to more excessive regulations that's going to ultimately lead to more expense on the individual residences of the Mableton. I was that voice saying, not if we elect the right officials that have our interest at heart and will listen to our concerns while creating this beautiful city. I hope my words hold true. One of the first services that we're trying to implement is solid waste management. And this has created some major concerns for me. Not that I'm opposed to taking on that, I think we definitely need it, but we need to encompass all size carriers, not just the major ones. I do appreciate the opportunity to be able to keep my carrier, but I've been sorry, let me back up, who is currently Quality Sanitation. I've enjoyed the business relationship with them for over 30 years, and they've advised me after reviewing the proposed legislation that's going to impact his business that he's concerned that he will no longer be able to operate within the city limits of Mableton. Some of these regulations, including the requirement to provide the city with a complete customer database with addresses and revenues collected from each customer. He'll need to pay 6.5% of his revenues from residential customers and 13.5% from his commercial customers. He must purchase a performance bond, pay a $500 application fee, in addition to a $250 contract fee. Many small carriers are not staffed to produce this extra documentation without hiring additional staff, which would result in higher operating costs. They are being advised that the additional costs cannot be passed on to the consumer, and they don't currently have the profit margin just to absorb it. Quality Sanitation provides a very valuable service to many of the senior and handicapped residences of Mableton by providing them with door-to-door pickup service. This is very unusual in today's world. But to many of his customers, this is just not a convenience. It's a necessity because they're not able to get their cans down to the street. We need to help these citizens and keep their needs in mind. The loss of all small carriers will also result in less competition for the larger ones, which will inevitably result in raised garbage collection fees for all the residences. For all these reasons, I plead with you to meet with all the carriers, large and small, and to listen to them and compromise. If a compromise can be reached, everyone can remain happy, and the services that we need to provide can be provided. Some of the larger, I know some of these fees are going to be used to clean up, or my understanding is they're going to be used to clean up the streets and keep the trash. But if you've ever noticed, a lot of these larger carriers that dump the can, half the trash that don't go back in the truck ends up on the street, which ultimately has to be picked up as well. So it is important to have as much possible clean, small carriers that's not using that service as possible, just to keep the streets clean, in my opinion. I respectfully hope you'll consider this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nash.
After Becky Flaherty, there is Carol Law. She'll be next.
Good evening. My name is Becky Flaherty. I live in District 2. And first of all, thank you for being willing to lead this city. The forming of this city happened during a time of crisis in my family. And so this all happened, and I sort of woke up from the crisis and was able to shift back into life and go, oh, we have a city going on. And so along with that was this surprise that was happening with trash pickup and sanitation. And I have lived where we live now in District 2 for 22 years. We inherited Quality Sanitation, and because of them, couldn't imagine anyone in South Cobb had trouble with trash, because we were so happy to have inherited an amazing group of two people that make this happen. And so when I was able to settle out of our family crisis and started hearing about the trash issue, my first response was, well, call Quality Sanitation and you won't have any trash issues. And then in talking with them, they're not really trying to develop a model of a big business. They're not trying to take over let's do the sanitation for all of Mableton. They just love having a business here, a small business. And I'm so impressed by how they do business. They have watched me go through 2 pregnancies and everything that goes with that. They've now known my kids who are young adults, and not many people can say that the people who pick up their garbage are part of your family. Like, Christmas shows up and we're like, hey, Merry Christmas to you, and we pay attention to what happens in each other's families. So I'm giving that context because as I begin to understand that some of the decisions that are in the works potentially for sanitation in Mableton could put some of our small businesses at risk. And I don't pretend to understand what it takes to make all these decisions. But I do want to encourage you to really look at the small businesses who are comprised, in this case, of people who are ethical, honorable, caring, and hardworking. I'll tell you, Quality Sanitation has never missed a pickup in 22 years. I have never had a complaint, and I will say they could complain about me because there were times during my pregnancy or early childhood years or even recently when I forgot to bring the garbage out. They could complain about me wasting their time because they're busy, right? And so I want to say, I want to encourage you to really spend the time to look at our small businesses, not just in waste management, but any other part of the decisions that you might make that could affect the people who live here, love this community, and work here and want their business to be here. Please consider that. Please take the time to have those discussions and figure out what would it take to make this work so we don't put them out of business or send them to develop their business over in Powder Springs or something like that. Thank you for your time. I appreciate your service.
Thank you.
After Carol Law, Craig Tillman speaks after Carol Law.
My name is Carol Law, and I've lived in Mableton for 28 years, and I've had the same trash removal company for 28 years. If there was an issue with those people, they would not be today my trash removal service. I've come to know them personally. I give them holiday cards. We have conversations about family, friends, areas, the neighborhood. They're great people, but it's also small business. Small businesses are the backbone of this country. And if you overregulate, if you overtax, you're going to put these people out of business. And I definitely second everything that Ms. Nash had said. Yes, this is very important that maybe you have a review of your taxing structure, maybe have a different tier system based on the number of customers that the company has. I don't know, but I think it's just something you need to review and consider the population. And I also, my hauler comes to my door because I have a hard time removing trash to the street. I'm 77 years old, and I'm not getting any younger. And if I have to haul everything to the street, it's going to be an imposition on me. So please take all this into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening.
My name is Craig Thiemann. I am a Mableton resident of 20 years in the same property. I can't tell you I've had the same hauler for 20 years because over that 20 years, invariably, the local haulers are being driven out of business. And this ordinance will make it far worse than anything that has driven them out of business before. I'm not going to speak about any hauler in particular, but I lost my hauler last year to a buyout, and the much larger company that took the business over raised the prices from $20 a month for trash and recycling to $30. A 33% increase for the same service, just because the company has more administrative overhead. Mayor, you gave a quote to the Cobb County Courier on 12/12 that said, "The goal of the ordinance would be to protect residents' ability to choose their waste management vendor rather than allowing a single local large hauler to monopolize the city contract." Correct? Well, y'all understand the law of supply and demand. If you reduce the supply of haulers, the price can only go up. And the price of the hauling service is nowhere in Chapter 12. The only time you even mention price was when you talk about the passing along of your fees. How are you going to control when you go down to 2 haulers in an area or 1 How are you going to stop them from raising the price to whatever they want to charge? There is no control over that whatsoever. When I moved to my house 20 years ago, there were 12 haulers I could have chosen from. Today, there are 4. Of those 4, only 2 will qualify under your program. One of them is one of the largest haulers in the country, and they have a tremendous amount of overhead, and they're going to pass those prices on. The other one is not that much smaller. So the bottom line here is, without competition, prices are going to do nothing but go up, and you're not taking account in your ordinance anything to do with that pricing. You have fallen back onto a notion that every resident wants to be able to choose their own hauler, but you're going to limit the number of haulers tremendously by this chapter. You need to either look at the pricing, or you need to come up with a solution that makes it allowable for all size haulers to operate in this environment. It's the only way it's going to work. Thank you.
We have Tina Locke, and after Tina is Hal Davis. Oh, she does not wish to speak. Okay, you just want your opinion. She says, I would like to support quality sanitation. They can't afford the extra fees, some of the rules to adhere. It can cause them to go out of business. I don't want to lose my trash company. I have been with them 27 years. Thank you. And then Hal Davis. And after Hal is Laura Leedeth.
I'm going to make it real short and sweet. What Craig said, okay? Perfect. I've been using quality sanitation for, 12 years, 13 years. They do a great job. I don't want to switch to anybody else. I've seen some of the regulations and the fees. If you can do some kind of a tier where they don't have to do as many if they're small, that might work, or grandfather them in so they can keep doing what they're doing. But they do a great job for me, and I don't want to switch it out. So that's, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Laura.
Good evening, everybody. Hal and I are neighbors, and I share the same concerns that he does. As a matter of fact, we've already been notified on February the 1st, if this comes into effect, that we will no longer be serviced by Quality because they can't afford to do it. And it's distressing to us. My husband is actually going to be 90 years old this year, and so it's very sad to see this happen. I don't know if this is arbitrary and capricious. I would like to know how these fees were basically established, what the city is going to be doing for these fees, because it's going to put people out of business, and it's sad because we love quality. And that's it.
That is all the cards I have. The mayor may want to ask if there's anybody else in the audience.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else that would like to speak? We have at least 2.
You signed up for public comment. Do you want to speak for this one too? Okay. She's public comment.
Ms. Wilson, you would like to? Let's acknowledge Ms. Wilson who wants to speak on this item.
Good evening, Denny Wilson, District 2. After reading through everything, I never thought I'd see the day that I would agree with government. But I think this would be the best option for the city because we have a lot of seniors who cannot afford increases in trash services. We have a lot of seniors who cannot afford trash service. So I think this will take care of them And I sympathize with the trash haulers, I really do. I sympathize with the small businesses because I've been a small business owner before, so I know how it works. But the seniors in Mableton need to be taken care of. And, to speak on behalf of them, to put something on them that they cannot afford. I mean, we have seniors in Mableton who are getting right at $1,000 a month in income. Nothing additional, and I've spoken with a lot of them. And I think that this would be the best way to go. I support it fully. Like I said, I never thought I'd see the day when I'd be in sync with what government wants, as I'm sure all of you guys sitting here know, because I've been one of your biggest critics. But, this one I can give a thumbs up. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Do we have anyone else that would like to comment on this measure? Yes, ma'am.
My name's Patricia Hay, and I'm in District 4, and I'm against this because you say you're not going to pass on the cost to the consumer, but you will. We'll end up paying for it. And I don't like the fact that it's running the small businesses out because they can't afford it. And I don't want you telling me which trash company I can pick. So I'm totally against it. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else?
Can you speak without filling out paperwork or not?
No, we've opened the floor now, so please, sir, just give us your name and if you know what district you live in.
I just want to tell you that all these people that come here today,
Could you say your name, please, for my record?
my name is Jeff Franklin.
Jeff,
I
okay.
am the owner and operator of Quality Sanitation. All these people have come here today. All these people have come here today on my behalf because of the ordinance that I got a chance to look at that have some extreme fees in it as far as I'm concerned. We've been in business since 1990. We've tried to service and treat people the way we wanted to be treated. We have a lot of people that are not capable, not able, and cannot carry their trash to the curb. We try to work with everybody the best we can. If you look back there, you'll see my wife. That's the other half of Quality Sanitation. There is no big group of people here. I am the owner, I'm the cook, the bottle washer, I'm the whole 9 yards. We started this business in the attempt to try to collect people's trust because we found out the competition is pretty sturdy as far as people coming in here and circulating and flyering your stops and taking your stops away from you or whatever. We bought into the business. I bought a company out in 1990. I'm not only a sanitation worker, I'm a certified diesel mechanic, and I also have CDL license, so I can do anything else that I want to do. I just want you to know that. This is not a thing where I am tied to this, but I feel like I am needed and wanted right here. I have people that talk to me. They tell me things that probably shouldn't tell me, but they do talk to me. I talk to them. They're great people. They just want somebody to do what they say they're going to do for a reasonable price, and that's what we try to do. I don't set my prices by anybody else's prices. I go by my own P&L. But we have a certain limit that we can do with the expenses that you're putting on us. I mean, the business license part alone is 10 times more than what we're used to putting out. So that's just hard to swallow. You want to be competitive, you want to do a service for somebody, you want to be the person that they don't have to worry about. You know what I mean? It's a thing that they put their trash in the trash can, it disappears. No problems. Nowadays, if you get somebody to do half what they say they're going to do, you got somebody. And I try to do that. And I guess that alarms for me, so I'm going to step down. I appreciate you listening to me. I hope I can continue to do business as long as I want to. I wanted to work for a few more years. but I don't want to be regulated out of business, is what it boils down to. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Do we have anyone else that would like to speak on? Yes, ma'am, you would like to? Please.
Hi, I'm Kathy Bass. I'm not sure what district we're in because I don't know if everything changed. But I have a small business in Mableton, and we've been in business for like 37 years. And we have a lot of customers, and I think talking to them, we're having the same issue that we're all concerned about, the trash audit and extra fees that we're going to encounter because of the cityhood. And I guess you realize that a lot of rents have gone up. Georgia Power's getting ready to go up. We just can't afford any extra fees. I know the taxes are going to go up. We're just not sure what all expenses we're going to have. So we just want to be clear on what's being charged. And I do know from a small business, when we first went into business, all the government regulations, we had like a little manual thing that was like 12 pages. And now it's so thick with all the regulations that we can't even keep up or print out. We just have to go on the computer to look up all the regulations that we have to abide by. And it gets very difficult. So I think that with the increase in the regulation of this, it's going to cause not only a burden on the citizens, it's going to be a burden on the haulers or small businesses, but I think it's going to also cost the city of Mableton to have to hire people to monitor all this stuff, all the extra paperwork and all the regulations. So I just, in general, I don't see the purpose of it. I don't know what it improves, but I think if we all kind of keep working together as citizens of Mableton and trying to look at the betterment of the community, I think we have to just sit there and say what's going to turn out best for the citizens. Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak during this public hearing, for or against or indifferent? I don't see any more hands. Before I close the hearing, I do have one other thing. Mr. Warren, would you mind taking a question or two from the council? And I want to make sure that, a couple of questions here, is that because you're president of Trash Hauler Association, I do think it's important to know that your thought and input in the totality of what we're looking at. But also make sure that we clarify a couple things. So can you repeat how many companies you have that are members that are servicing the city of Mableton, approximately?
There's 12 companies that are members of the Cobb County Haulers Association. There's a few that don't service Mableton. I can get you the number, but off the top of my head, there's probably 8 or 10 that I know of right now that service in the city limits of Mableton.
Okay. I'm looking at Cobb Trash Help right now, and I think it shows 8 that service 30126.
Okay.
And 7 that serve 30168. How many of those would you say are big versus how many are small? And that's
okay.
I know that's
it's all how you look at what you view as large and what you view as small. There's Waste Management pulled out of Cobb County several years ago, so they're the largest in the world. They're not in Cobb County any longer. The next largest that service Mableton right now is Waste Connections, formerly known as American. And there's been a lot of market correction, is how I could say it. So they're the largest right now that I'm aware of that services within the city. As far as quality, they might be one of the smaller businesses. There's Reliable, there's Smith Sanitation. There was Fast Trash. I think they've sold out recently. These are just ones off the top of my head. But a few years ago, when Cobb County was having a big issue with garbage, is when we reformed the association. But we as a hauler association wanted to help Cobb County. This is before the city became a city, and we he just referred to the cobtrashhelp.com website that we set up just at our expense and that we maintain, and it's where people can make comments and complaints and things like that. And that's kind of, council members, that's what I wanted to say, is that we want to be a partner with you guys. We want to try to figure out how to make it all work for you. And I don't know if the general audience knows that I think you're going down the right path with the direction you want to go as far as giving people their free choice. But the problem is the extra expense that it's going to be and it will go to the customer. I mean, there's even if a company is limited to show only 50% of the 6.5%, the other 3.25 is going to be hidden in just a general increase. The customer pays 100% of all expenses for any business. I mean, there's no other money coming from any other place besides from the customer. So it's not going to come out of the owner's pockets or their profits. And also, with most people's profits are between 6 and 10% of net profit. That's what they're making in a year. So it is kind of high, and that's some of the kind of things I want to talk about. But just so everybody else knows, this is not a new thing. Other cities like Sandy Springs and the city of Milton also have a fee as well. And it can improve services, just so you do know. I'm trying to be as neutral as I can. You know, it's a difficult position for me to be in. I'm running a garbage company. You know, I have customers. We have maybe 2,000 in the city limits of Mableton, but we service 30,000 on a weekly basis. So we're all over Cobb and other counties in Metro Atlanta. And so I see both sides, you know. And so my job, and the reason I'm elected the president of the Hauler Association, is because I think they trust me to represent them well, but also, you know, Cobb County and City of Milton, they contact me on a regular basis on the ordinance updates and changes, and they want to know what I think about it. What will the haulers think about it? What do you see problems with your customers? You know, they want to know all sides of the coin. And so I just try to be a peacemaker and want to make it. I want to make it work for you guys, but also how do you make it work for the citizens where they don't have, you know, extreme increases? And there's a lot of things we can look at together to try to save money. One of the things as an association we try to do is, hey, what can we do to save money so that when new fees come along, we might not have to do an increase. If we could save money in another area, maybe we don't have to. You know, it didn't always. Our responsibility as a business owner is not always just pass every increase to a customer. It's how can you save money as well, right? We have a responsibility, you know, to stay competitive and to spend our money wisely. So sometimes you can have buying power with large groups. So that's one of the things we want to do as an association, is try to figure out, hey, how can we get together as a group and save money on maybe purchasing trash cans or tires or fuel? You know, there's so many expenses. This business, if anybody out there is interested in getting involved in the garbage business, I will go ahead and tell you, don't do it. So it's a very expensive business to run, and there's so many legal hoops to jump through. So, and that's what I wanted to say, is that I just think this is a little cumbersome. But with the right massaging, I think you can put together something that everybody may be able to stomach. And the alternative for the citizens that are against the whole ordinance altogether, the alternative would be that the city council would choose the company for you, and I don't think you want that either. So hopefully, as we work it out, I don't know, in my opinion, I don't know if we can do it within 2 weeks, but maybe so with some work sessions or something. I don't know. The mayor, thank you very much again for he's come and meet with our group over a year ago. And he offered again to meet with us again to answer any questions. So the transparency, and I looked at your website about one of y'all's missions. On the mission statement, it talks about transparency. So that's one of the things I did kind of feel awkward about. If this is going to be a public record on your website, and it's going to say 6.5% on residential and 13, is it 13.5 or 13? If it's going to be in your records, and then it's going to say also in the ordinance that the company can only show 50% of it, that's kind of the opposite of transparency, in my opinion. And I didn't really want to go there tonight and be critical of it. And I know that there's probably not an author in this room that authored this, right? You have to start from somewhere, right? So you have to get the framework from other people that's done this. So it's not really a criticism to any one particular person. Y'all are just trying to do the best you can as a baby city. So anyway, I'm rambling too long. What other questions?
Thank you, Brian. I want to say that you are right about that. I mean, we looked at no less than 13 different ordinances in different cities around Metro Atlanta, and to pull parts that we thought would be right for the city. And we're going to continue to do that over the next 2 weeks as we go through. But I did want to make sure that we're all clear that this is not a David versus Goliath thing that we're playing here. There are many other small haulers throughout the city that we want to protect too. I made that commitment. Councilman Ock was with me when we did that, and we want to hold true to that. But as the subject matter expert, if you will, you're welcome. I do want to open the floor to the rest of the council if you have questions, if you don't mind, sir.
I actually do have a question. Do you have a range that fees typically are charged to trash haulers in your experience across the board?
In cities who've adopted an infrastructure, like Sandy Springs and Milton calls it an infrastructure maintenance fee. I think y'all have the word environmental in there, which is great. It's typically 5%, so you're not far off. And also, we also understand that there's got to be some revenue generation somewhere in the mix of it. I mean, bills are going to have to get paid, so we all understand that too. But it's normally 5%. I don't know on the commercial side. We're not into the commercial business yet. We plan to be, but as far as those cities go, I don't know what the rate, not interest, but I don't know what the fee would be on interest. I mean, on the percentage. Excuse me. I don't know why I'm hung up on interest. Anyway, but it's 5% in those two cities. But and y'all are the largest city in Cobb, but I don't know where you compare to as far as size with Sandy Springs. I would say they have a lot higher population. So when you look at, more people, 5% might be a lot more money than 6.5 with less people, so
Right.
that's normally where they're at is 5%.
And just had one other follow-up question. In terms of what Cobb County was doing, I recognize we're a city, but obviously these trash haulers have been operating under Cobb County. What do you know?
There's a one-time fee every year for a permit, hauler's permit.
Mhm.
It's either based off of number of employees or revenue, a certain percentage of revenue. So, that's tied to your business license too. Like we purchased our business license in Marietta, so we pay the majority of our licensing fees to the city of Marietta. But Cobb County, we still have to pay. It's a $95 once a year fee, and that's it. That's all we pay to Cobb County to have the privilege to service the unincorporated parts of the county.
Yeah.
So it's very, but they have other revenue streams, so they don't need to collect any more from us.
I have a
Yes,
question.
Councilman. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. You mentioned that there were some items within the ordinance that you found particularly cumbersome. Could you maybe pick out a couple just to give us an idea of what you feel are the most cumbersome, overbearing parts of our ordinance?
Yes, ma'am. Well, on my copy, it's page 12, so I don't know what copy you have. Let's see here. Section 12.2.3 of Establishment of Environmental Management Fees.
Yes.
When you go down and you have those 9 items that are listed, just the record keeping might not be necessary. Some of it, like a dump ticket for every day, and then daily route sheets with attached disposal site weight tickets. That's excessive. The staffing, like including substitutions. I'm assuming that you want to know drivers' names and people that are on the trucks. Is that right? I don't know what that has to do with anything. The request by the city proof of disposal of resident. So that's if the city requests. Tonnage figures showing total solid waste tonnage. So there's a standard sheet that both city and the city of Sandy Springs and Milton uses. That's very simple. It's not even a half a page really of, and it's here's another struggle that the mayor and I actually talked about before this meeting is that I understand that it's on the honor system unless there's accountability, right? So I understand the reason why some of these are in here, and it's probably to encourage accountability, right? It's for an owner of a business to say, hey, I'm not going to be able to fudge on my numbers. You know, if it's left up to me to pay whatever I say I'm, 6.5% is, then I'll just make up something, whatever I can afford. And then if I have a bad quarter or whatever, and money's not coming in, I might, have a different number. But there's ways to audit this that I've already have experience with that I can help you with, is what I'm saying, is to encourage accountability. And for a company owner like myself that wants to pay our fair share, and we want the system to be fair and a fair playing field, I want to encourage, I'll help y'all to know ways to accomplish fair reporting. I can tell you when you do your numbers and you know how many residential households are. I think on the website, or what I looked at, there's 76,895 maybe residents, somewhere around there. So I don't know what the average household is, but once y'all establish and figure out how many household units there are, and the average, let's say the average garbage fee per month is $20, you can pretty quickly figure the numbers on what you're going to be collecting. And when the numbers aren't close, then you figure out, hey, there's something going on wrong here. But if every company is permitted and they tell you how many customers they have, that's supposed to add up to your number, right? To how many households there are. So that's one way to start establishing accountability and accuracy for these numbers. And then in businesses the same way, commercial.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else?
Yes, I have a question. Excuse me. I'm just trying to think through options for the fees. You did mention that the average is 5% for residential, and I wanted to ask, in your experience, have you seen a city adopt a lower percentage for the first year or the second year to allow the haulers to adjust and find, like you said, ways to save and ways to absorb the cost and then increase it to where we're trying to get to?
I have not seen that, but it is a way to do so. And you reminded me of something real quick. That's part of this ordinance states that every company after February 28th is to bill with the fee involved. But the way garbage haulers bill is on a quarterly basis, normally in advance. So like my company, we've already billed through the end of March. So that would be hard to come in compliance with that in there. So that's one of the things I was saying, is maybe there could be some things that could be massaged and adjusted, like y'all might want to move that date to maybe April the 1st or something like that. But that's not anything major, right? But that is a great option and a great idea, and that's what I'm here for too. And I've talked with our association. There's not many in our association that also service these other areas that are used to paying this fee. So what I've been trying to do is tell them, hey, it's okay. It's not going to be the end of the world. But the fact is, it is going to get passed along to the customer. Now, I don't itemize it on my bill, on my invoicing system. I don't say anything about it. It's just part of the fee. When somebody wants a price for service in Milton or Sandy Springs, I just know to add 5% extra over what I would normally charge, and then I'm still making the same profit. They don't question it. I mean, that's just part of it, and it's always competitive. Every company has to have the same expenses, so there's very, very competitive pricing. I did like the idea. I don't know how to accomplish it, but one gentleman said, how do you keep a company from raising their rates to whatever? And I made a note of that. I figured that somebody might pick up on that. Hey, how do we put that in there to protect the residents? And so I made a note myself. What makes sense? How can we do that? Even on our end, I mean, I'm trying to be fair on both sides of the coin, right? Normally competition will, if somebody wants to charge $200 a month, and if somebody else comes along and is going to do it for $20, the competition will just take care of it. But if you don't have many choices, that's a different story.
True. Also, economies of scale. I mean, there is a fact that larger haulers could decide that they want to undercut everybody.
They can do whatever. Yes, exactly.
I have
take a loss for like many years if they have to get the big picture taken care of.
I have a question. I'd like to know, because this is something that I've experienced directly, and that having the same hauler with the same service in two different neighborhoods with two different prices.
Right, you've told me about that.
Yeah.
So some of it is a I don't want to use the word demographic thing, but it's a if you have a townhouse, for instance, a townhome community, like we service townhome communities that we build HOA for, and they have landscapers. So there's no yard debris to take care of. And generally speaking, a townhome community will average about 28 pounds of garbage per week. Whereas you go to a neighborhood like Providence or Legacy, right down on Discovery Boulevard that we service, with the large yards, you know, they're mowing grass, they're putting out 5 bags of yard debris, they're finishing their basement, they're putting out all their sheetrock scraps. They have, 4 or 5 kids, and after Christmas you pull up and you can't even fit all of it in a pickup truck bed. There's so much thing. So the pricing sometimes will change because of the neighborhood and the waste demand. So it's not always apples to apples. And so you told me about that. And some of it's a zip code thing and competition thing. If you have a lot more competition somewhere that's keeping you honest, you're going to charge less, if you want to keep your customers. If you're in an area where there's not much competition, you might try to squeak up, a little bit of an increase in because there's not many choices. So that might be why there's different pricing.
Thank you. I don't want to keep you up there all night. Council, does anyone else have any questions?
Yes, I had one question. I'm as a subject matter expert, and I am not familiar with performance bonds. It has been something that has been repeatedly brought up to my attention in emails. Does that seem unreasonable?
The performance bond?
Yes.
I think it's unheard of. For the reason why you want it is unheard of. I've never heard of a company just disappearing without the market correcting immediately. There's so many people that was, if there was a company in Cobb County a few years ago, I'm not going to name their names, but they lasted about 2 or 3 years and they just went right out of business. Their business plan didn't work. So, but all their customers that they had, which I think was about 5,000 customers in Cobb County, none of them hardly went more than 2 weeks without a pickup. The competition just came and gobbled them up. I mean, if every company puts up a performance bond for a month's worth of, I think y'all said 30 days, and that would be saying, like you would ask the hauler, how many customers do you have? If they have, let's say if it's custom disposal, and we have 2,000 customers, I would have to give, the performance bond would be 30 days worth of what I charge for 30 days worth of service is the way I understand it, so that y'all, as a city, could pay somebody to pick up my 2,000 customers, right? That's the purpose of it. If every company does that, that's just a large amount of money that is being held. Is there refunds after a certain amount of time? There's just a lot of questions behind that. I think the performance bond is unnecessary because the market will take care of that issue immediately.
So, excuse me, on that same note, does it make sense at all for the commercial side versus the residential?
On the performance bond?
Yes.
Nope. And if somebody can find a case study where a commercial business just left town, I'd like to see it. I read all the Waste Age magazine. I've never heard of it. There's too much money. There's a lot more money in commercial than residential. And when you have a pandemic, the big guys, they focus all their work, all their people go to the commercial side. Residents suffer. So that's another reason why it's not really a great idea to go with a large national company. You never know when, like, nobody could see COVID coming, but a lot of companies, when they were shorthanded, they put their workers on the commercial side. That's where they make their most profits, is commercial. So I don't see a need for the bond. I mean, it just boils down to what you need the money for. Are you going to use the money? Is it going to sit in another account somewhere, or is it something that y'all will use as operating funds? And that's none of my business. But I don't think it's necessary. I think that, and I'm surprised there's no commercial company that provides commercial service that's here to talk about it. The 13.5% that's going to hurt them a good bit. And, I mean, it's going to hurt the businesses that's going to have to pay it.
Great.
Maybe there is still a solution, just not. I think it's just a little bit too rich.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Warner. Appreciate your time tonight.
All right,
Thank you very much.
I appreciate the opportunity to be
Thank
here.
you.
And we will continue to work with you. Ma'am. There is a provision in the ordinance that says that all households should have trash service, and if not, kind of going back to the bond, is to make sure there will be funding there to ensure that trash service could resume even if the homeowner did not have trash service. You're welcome. Okay, thank you for that. We do appreciate Mr. Warren being here, and for everyone that decided to come and speak this evening. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Public hearing is now officially closed. We're going to move on to item 7. Before we do that, council, there is one thing that I've noticed here and brought my attention is that we do, in our approval of our agenda, there's an item that is not included that should be. If you, are you aware, if you can give me 1 sec, ma'am.
What's the problem? All right, members of the council, I'm going to ask that we amend the agenda for this evening because we need to add an appointment. There's Section 8 is the Section 8 has an appointment, but there needs to be an item B listed there, which is an appointment of our Sustainability and Beautification Director, our Waste Director, so I want to make sure that we add that. So I'd like to entertain a motion that we amend the current agenda to add another appointment.
Mayor, I'd like to motion that we amend the agenda to add an appointment B. Do I need to say the whole thing?
Thank you. I think that's fine.
I second.
Thank you. All those in favor of amending the agenda to add an item 8B, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it. Thank you for that. We'll make sure that we get caught back up with that when we get to that section. Our next section is Section 7, which are presentations. Ma'am.
Mayor, before we move on, can we discuss amongst the council the solid waste ordinance just briefly? Because there won't be another opportunity for me to get feedback before I give you the final proposed version.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to, I made note of the comments that were made tonight. So our current model, the reporting requirements are based off of the city of Alpharetta. And it sounds like one of the major points of contention, is public-wise, was just the Alpharettas are too voluminous. They require too much information. So I did cross-reference. I know he spoke tonight about the city of Milton, which is a lot less restrictive than Alpharetta. So what Milton does is, in lieu of having specific reporting requirements, Milton says that the contracts will state that to the extent the city needs the information to provide it to the state of Georgia, that the haulers will provide that information. So what it allows Milton to do is limit the request to an as-needed basis.
Okay.
If the council would like, I can switch this to be consistent with Milton, and it would remove some of the reporting requirements. For example, if you go to subsection 12.2.3, we could remove the complaint resolution summary. If we remove that, then my suggestion would be to just ensure that we have the report of concern module on the city's GovPilot interface. So that way, if there is a need to re-implement that, if there are a lot of complaints that are being made to the city that are unresolved, then the city would have the discretion to re-implement that, but you wouldn't have to require it on the front end. So that's one option. And then the recycling station participation itemized on a per day basis. We do require that they offer recycling. Whether or not you feel the need to actually monitor it would be an as-need basis, which means that if we go back to Milton's setup on that particular issue, if the need comes up in the future, then we can just require everyone under contract to provide that recycling information, which would allow us to remove that off the front end, as well as the landfill tickets. The vehicle identification numbers I would not suggest moving, and that is because with other cities that we represent, we've had issues with trucks going in and out of neighborhoods and damaging property, and it's easier if that occurs if you do have a database of how vehicles are identified, and it helps to resolve dispute resolution between the residents and the haulers when a hauler may deny that it was them. So it just gives you the ability to ask the resident, okay, what was the identification number on that vehicle? Go back to your listing, see which company that was, and then bring the two together for a dispute resolution process. So I would not recommend removing that. The daily route sheet, that could be moved, and if you find the need to need a daily route sheet in the future, then you can always place that back if we choose Milton's model, which is, like I said, is a lot less restrictive.
So, I'm sorry, in other models, what is that information used for, that daily route sheet?
So a lot of this is state reporting. So the state gives you flexibility with respect to what you report to the state. It does give you flexibility in creating solid waste management plans, whether it's your own independent plan or whether you want to join locally with other cities and neighboring jurisdictions. So it just varies. So some cities might be subject to a joint comprehensive plan where they've agreed that we want this much information. We've had these issues over the last number of decades, and we want this information reported. So it's just going to basically vary by jurisdiction.
So, Madam Attorney, if I could speak to this a little bit. When it comes to some of this reporting, it's the adage is reporting and gathering information can help tell us where we need to go on some of these things. And some of these, again, as I looked at other ordinance, but also looked in ways that we can help create, a cleaner, greener Mableton. There's a lot of talk about environmental friendly and how we want to make this city more beautiful. Part of this is when we are able to capture data, it will help us drive to where we want to go. So if we're looking at things related to waste diversion rates, recycling rates, even talking about carbon emissions and how we're moving the city forward to become more green, we have to be able to capture those statistics, because that data would tell us how much better we're doing. How much better are we doing in 2030 than we are 25? what we're doing in creating this city is not just about us sitting here today. It's about the future of this city. And this future can be 5 years out, 10 years out, 30 years out. And so I get a little passionate about understanding the sustainability reports, because ultimately that's where I would like to go, is some of this reporting is tied back to how we're being more environmentally friendly as a city. If we're not capturing this information, we're not knowing how much waste that we're putting in our landfills, if we're not knowing how much diversion we're doing through recycling efforts, how can we ever talk about becoming better and our way to becoming a greener, safer city? So it may not be fully where you're going, but I want an opportunity to talk about that, because some of the key benefits of this ordinance is based around how we can have a cleaner, greener city, how we can have a reduced environmental impact in our landfills, how we can improve public health, and how we can have more of a education around sustainability, so that we can tell our children and our grandchildren how we're making this city a better, greener place. So we haven't talked a lot about the environmental aspect of this, but a lot of that reporting is tied to that, and even some of these fees, it was mentioned before, but we're targeting the utilization of these fees to go back to ensure that we are beautifying the city, and that we're hopefully one day we can get a recycling facility in the city of Mableton, so a lot of those charges will go, or fees will go towards that. This is not a silver bullet. It's not something we're going to resolve today completely. And I also know that change is hard, and this is a change. And Mr. Warren spoke about the fact that this is different for us, but everything we're doing here is different as a new city. So I'll just kind of challenge us that when we're talking about some of the challenges about getting us to a better place in the future, and that reporting is that. I don't want overbearing amount of reporting, but I know if we go to no reporting, we're no better than we are right now.
No, absolutely.
So is that something that we have to decide now?
No, you don't need to decide tonight, and what my recommendation would be is I just wanted to give you a heads up that I do plan to, if you're okay, to meet with administration, meet with the waste subject matter experts, and to discuss ways to reduce the reporting requirements so that they're more amenable to the smaller haulers.
I would like to, just to get kind of a summary of what we're getting away from this hearing tonight. So you mentioned that what will stay on the list so far is vehicle identification numbers. What else will stay on this list?
Well, I do plan to meet with, preferably I'd meet with the administration. So I can talk to because I know that there's been comments that have been provided, written comments by the Haulers Association, and then in the very near future, we're anticipated to have subject matter experts who deal with waste, who can weigh in on this. So I just wanted to let the council know that I do plan to incorporate their feedback, while also incorporating the public's feedback, so when you see this again, it might be a smaller version from what it exists right now. But I will include language that gives you the flexibility as needed to be able to implement these without having to modify your ordinance.
Okay. I'd like to just so it's on the record, what my takeaway from the main points, and just let me know if everyone agreed on this. One of them was perhaps a different fee structure for the very small haulers that have been serving our seniors and disabled constituents in our city. It was mentioned via email and a conversation with Mr. Tanks to my about perhaps grandfathering in the very small haulers with perhaps 300 customers or less, and exempting them from the environmental management fee. Perhaps waiving the performance bond. I'm still kind of unsure on what that serves.
So that one I was going to recommend removing.
Okay, thank
so
you.
You typically have a performance bond when the city is actually doing the hauling, or you limit the hauling to 1 or 2. I know that Alpharetta has this requirement, but because I do agree with what he said, that the market, the biggest risk that residents will run is that, your hauler goes out of business and you may lose a portion of the money that you provided. But as far as being able to get a replacement contractor, since the city is not limiting the market, they can do that immediately.
Okay, great.
Before you keep going, there was one question I had about the insurance, and can we still ask? Yeah. Because this might go into currently, haulers, you've seen the numbers and the amounts.
On the insurance?
Yes.
Requirements?
Yes.
It looks pretty standard.
Okay.
To me,
Okay.
for my size company.
For your size.
Jeff might could speak to it more. What are you required to carry on, well, I know we need to be on mic because this is recorded, so I don't want to ask a question of the audience, but did the insurance requirements seem normal to you, Jeff?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think there was any problem there. Yeah, there was, the Cobb County, Cobb County already required that for many years. So since he's been in business for 35 years, he's already been carrying that coverage.
Okay.
And every company is already carrying that coverage, so that's not a problem at all.
If I could just comment really quickly, I want to say that for the mayor, I understand the need to capture certain, kind of information, as we, continue to progress. But I would really like to explore, and maybe this is where you can come in, as to how we can capture that information at the same time putting the most minimal amount of burden on our haulers, so we can figure out that, because when I'm looking at the list, and I know you're going through it, Madam Attorney, I just feel like so many of our trash haulers do an exceptional job. I mean, I know there have been some in the past that haven't done well, but for the most part, I think most people who have selected their trash providers, no matter who they are very happy with the services that they have. And so it would be nice to kind of come up with something where we're not overly burdening with all of these reporting requirements, but at the same time, figure out a way that we can still get the information that we need as well. And I have no idea, I don't have any suggestions because I don't really understand a lot of the reporting, and what what it's for and how it will assist. But maybe if there's some way you can help us.
The city of Milton does capture data. Data is our friends. Data is how we make decisions, and that's how we figure out where we need to go. You're absolutely correct. They do. We on the quarterly report, we list how many homes we serviced each month, what the tonnage was of garbage, and recycling, and the location they were all delivered to. So there's accountability there, and that's what I was saying is that whoever you have in your administration that's going to collect all this data, if it doesn't match up, we'll have to get together and figure out where's the missing information. If all the haulers that are permitted to pick up in Mableton, if their numbers of customers that they say they service doesn't equal the amount of people in Mableton, then we need to get together and figure out, okay, who made a mistake, who misremembered where your neighborhoods are at, or whatever. You know what I mean? But there is definitely a short form on collecting important data. And it may be something that you report once a year. A lot of times we have been audited. Sandy Springs has hired an outside firm that's experts in this area that was mentioned, and they know how they'll do an audit. So if you have in your ordinance that at any time the city requests certain information, and we agree to it, then we produce the information. But on a daily dump ticket, and sometimes we have a hard time remembering. I mean, when you have multiple trucks going over, it's just hard to keep up with. But I'd be in favor. I mean, if you think about the math on the suggestion about maybe letting somebody be grandfathered in on a certain amount of residential customers and lower, it's not going to be a great revenue generator anyway. So I mean, I would be in favor of that myself. So.
Okay, thank you. There was a proposed vendor reporting form that was out there, and I don't know if you had opportunity to see it or not, but it was
Vendor reporting
on the quarterly and annual reporting.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's in the. I ended up with two different.
I don't think it is. We'll.
Versions.
I think I wanted to say this is that this is there's a reason when we started this why I said we broke this up into 3 sections. And really there was prior to that, because we had been working through this and redlining, updating before we even had the first read. So there was the pre-first read, the first read, now we're in the public hearing, and then we'll go through to a second. There was a reason why not to rush this, and this is not in its final form. And the reason anyone come here tonight to speak on behalf of it or against it, understand that it's still in progress. So, I mean, personally, I think that anyone that's rushing to judgment to talk about how terrible it is or how it may put someone out of business is still just a little bit premature, because we still have to finish working through this process. And Mr. Warren, again, I thank you for being a part of the process, helping us through and answer the questions. And I know from the staff and our attorney, we will continue to put this together. We'll continue to work on this. So the feedback that we're getting today is important, because it will hopefully get us closer to a final product, and eventually it'll get us to something that we can actually pass, and we can move forward with.
Yeah, and if something doesn't work, you can always do amendment. You can update, and as you grow, and y'all will find out what works, what doesn't work, and you know that'll be y'all's choice to make amendments and whatever adjustments as you go. So it don't have to be perfect right out of the gate, but if you have the time to do so, it'd be close to get it. It'd be good to get it pretty close to perfect.
And can I have an ask for you? It sounds like your preference is Milton. Would you, or you're
Sandy
happy with
Springs,
their
either
reporting
way.
form?
Milton copied Sandy Springs pretty much.
Yeah, can you forward us a copy?
Yeah,
That'd be easier than.
it's on their websites too.
Yeah.
Both
So it is on
websites.
their
We have
webpage?
that.
Okay, because I
Both,
was just
both of their
on-
websites have their ordinance,
Yeah.
solid waste ordinance on there. It's public.
Well, no, I mean the reporting form.
Oh, yeah, I
We-
can get you a copy
Yeah,
of
because
that.
I just looked on their website. I didn't see the reporting.
If you have a business card, I have my computer, I can send it to you.
Okay,
We might
thank
be
you.
able to get that too.
Great.
And
And
the
then-
vendor sign-up form, too, that's on their website as well. Look, we don't have to recreate the wheel with everything here, right, at all. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Mayor, I had one final comment, if I
Yes.
could just let, so there was concern tonight just about the fees that are implemented, but I just wanted the council as well as the public to know that the residential fee is capped at 3.25%. So what that means is that if your monthly bill is $20, you will not pay more than 65 cent extra a month. So that's gonna be 65 cent every $20. And if the servicer's bill is $20, then the hauler will not pay more than an additional 65 cent for your invoice as well. So it's not a substantial fee that we're talking about. We're talking about barely over 50 cent per $20.
Thank you for that. Anything else, Madam Attorney? Good? Okay.
That's all I have.
All right, thank you. So let's move on now to item 7.
Mayor, before we
Sir.
move on, I know that Councilwoman Ock, I cut her off
Yeah.
when she was going
Oh,
through her list.
sorry, I didn't notice that. Go ahead, Councilwoman.
I was just going over just the key takeaways. So it was, we're going to have a tier system that grandfathers in the small haulers. We're going to waive the performance bond. We are removing,
Wait,
We're
wait,
gonna-
the tier system that
We're
or
not-
not a
in the
tier,
small
just
haulers?
grandfathering them in.
We're not saying we're doing any of that. We're saying that those are things that we're going to consider.
Okay. Well, I'm mentioning things I would like to see considered.
Okay.
And have it on the record that I did say I want them considered. To possibly change the accounting of the daily log to match that of Sandy Springs. What else was there?
On that
On the third-
grandfathering, how long do we grandfather?
I would say anyone, a minimum of 10 years. So if they've been operating for longer than 10 years and have customers less than 300, that pretty much limits it to just a couple.
Right, but I'm
haulers.
saying, how long would that grandfather be? They're forever and ever, amen, they're operating.
Maybe, they're so small. Yeah.
It's probably something we have to just
Yeah.
discuss and decide.
We could-
yeah.
Yeah, I can look and see if any other cities, I'm not aware of a small hauler tier system, but I can look and see if anyone else has done something similar.
Okay.
I can certainly research that.
There was mention that 13.5% for commercial might be, quote, too rich. So that's something to look into. And then on page 15 of 109 of our agenda packet, on number 4, it skips number 3 and goes straight to 4 about the reporting, prohibiting billing more than 50% and not putting it on the bill.
Yeah, I saw
would
that.
just
Is that
strike, I would
12
just, I kind of would
2.3,
just
the
like to
auto
see that
numbering off?
striked from
Yeah.
it, just because it's not enforceable and just kind of, it's freedom, like, I just,
Tough at that last meeting, right?
yeah, I mentioned that at the last meeting, that's it, and so we can
Okay.
continue forward.
Got it.
And I do know that Mr. Warren has made some comments that have not been incorporated in yet. So there's some suggestions that have been made. that we've reviewed, but has not been put back into the actual ordinance. So some of those recommendations, even that he spoke about tonight, you'll see in the updated ordinance.
And I can tell you too, as a lawyer, when I read that subsection from Alpharetta's, my first inclination was that when they implemented this, what probably happened is haulers were saying the city, in kinder terms, were saying on the bills, the city's requiring me to assess this to you. That's usually what you see when you see that type of language restriction in these ordinances, but that can easily come off. That was just a jurisdiction-specific thing that Alpharetta did.
Okay. Great.
All right, progress. Yep. Wonderful. Thank you to everyone who came here tonight to speak, again, for behalf or indifferent on this, during this public hearing for the solid waste management. Obviously, it's important, obviously something that people care about, and it's something that we're going to be diligent about and continue to move forward to get an ordinance that we can get passed here. So with that being said, we're going to move on to item 7. We've got a couple of presentations. The first one will be a report on Cobb County School District by Leroy Trey Hutchins, Push 3 School Board member.
Thank you, City Council. It's glad to be back here. Happy New Year, and thank you for serving the citizenry of Mableton. I was sworn in today to serve another 4 years, so I just want to say thank you to Mableton. I actually served 3 municipalities. Thank you. The only board member to serve 3 municipalities and Cobb County, and so I have 3 mayors and councils and different communities of interest, and so thank you for allowing me to continue serving you in this capacity. I do want to make sure that I mention I was at the first comp plan meeting. I understand the continual theme of underperforming schools as it relates to Mableton. And so board member Becky Saylor and I have been working together to ensure that we have a town hall for you coming in the next, between now and February, to discuss that, because we do understand the intersectionality between high-performing schools and communities, and the state of your school is the state of your community. If your schools are failing, then that means we need to look within the community. And so we understand that. We are working with the district to put together a plan of work for those schools, and so we want to make sure that we present that information to you very shortly, so that our residents will understand where we are and what we plan to do and what their part can be in that process as well, and as well as the city's part. So we've spoken with our district leadership, our chief leadership officer, our chief academic officer right before the break, the Christmas break, and we have asked them to participate in the forum to give the district's plan of work, and so we're waiting to hear back from them as to their response on attending. And so we'll let you know as that happens. In the interim, board member Saylor and I will submit a plan of work, a poll to gather additional information from our community, so that we'll have that information at our town hall as well. So just know that we're working toward that. We're that's definitely in the forefront of our minds as we're moving into the 2025 year. I also want to make sure that I mention that House Bill 581 is coming. I see it on the agenda for today, and I'm actually excited to see that it's on there. As we know that that particular House bill is in regards to the floating exemption. It did pass the referendum this last November. For those that are not aware, the Georgia House Bill 581 took effect January 1, and it introduces a statewide homestead exemption that caps the annual increase in property values for tax purposes. This exemption impacts property taxes, the revenue for cities, counties, and school districts. And so I want to make sure that we understand that 581 will probably be heard by Mableton, it will be heard by the county, it will be heard by the school districts. It is my opinion, and I guess, and definitely not the opinion of the Board of Education, but in my research of school districts around the state of Georgia, it seems that all metropolitan school districts, all large school districts, will opt out of this provision of House Bill 581 because it does limit our resources and our ability to provide the quality of education that we currently provide. The Cobb County School District is the second largest school district in the state. We have a $1.8 billion budget, and it's continuing to grow as employees continue to stay and step in pay and different things. And so that would limit our ability to continue to provide the service at the level in which we're providing it, because Cobb County does have one of the most generous senior exemptions in the entire state. And so with that, in conjunction to what House Bill 581 would provide, it would not allow us to continue to do what we need to do. Again, this is my assertion of it. It is not the consideration of the board as of yet, but this is what I've been doing as far as my research to make sure that we're prepared for that. But I want to make sure I bring that to you early, because we're going to have a series of hearings, as well as probably Cobb County, the city of Mableton, and everyone else, to bring that to you. So I just want to make sure that I bring that to you. I believe most of rural Georgia has also decided that they're going to opt out of it as well in regards to school systems. And so that is something for us to look forward to in the next coming months as well. Thank you for the work that you guys are doing on the trash. And I'm speaking as a citizen right now. This is probably going to be one of the hardest things that you will encounter. But you're doing a great job, so thank you.
Thank you, Trey.
Trey.
Next up, we have a report from the South Cobb Regional Library Regional Manager, Joe Lehman.
Good evening. I'm Joe Lehman, Regional Manager for the South Cobb region of the Cobb County Public Libraries. Forgive my voice, but the South Cobb region has 5 branches. We have Vinings, Lewis Ray, Powder Springs, Sweetwater, and South Cobb Regional Library here in Mableton. The last time that I was here, I mentioned a program that is entitled Prime Time. Why am I mentioning it again is because it's a unique 6-week humanities-based program designed specifically for underserved families with children ages 6 through 10 years old. And the program is intended to help economically and educationally vulnerable families bond around the act of reading and talking about books. What we would really appreciate is financial support, or to provide a meal for about 70 people for one of those weeks. Because one of the things that the families do is eat together before we do the program. And when the children leave the program, they have a library of 12 books, 6 in English and 6 in Spanish. So we would like any support that you can give us on that program. Another program that I would like to mention is 1,000 books before kindergarten, because what we would like to do is for parents to participate in these programs and read at least 1,000 books to their children before kindergarten. On January 25th will be the first graduation celebration for these children, and it will happen on Saturday from 10 until 2. So if you don't have anything to do, stop by and help celebrate our graduates of 1,000 books before kindergarten. We know that many in our communities need help, so the Cobb County has partnered with Find Help to create a new online resource that connects residents with local vetted assistance programs. On the site, you can search for free or reduced cost services like Medicare, food, job training, and many more services. Now if people don't have computers, we have computers at the library that you can use for free. We have Chromebooks that you can check out and use for free, and hotspots if you don't have internet access. And as many of you know, we have partnered with Vision to Learn since 2018. And as for Cobb County Public Library System alone, through the summer break of 2024, has resulted in 2,750 eye exams and 1,877 pair of glasses free of charge for students and their families. Public libraries in other states have been inspired by this example, and they also want to partner with Vision to Learn. And we are gearing up for another session this summer to help more students. This year, AARP, Foundation Tax Aid, will partner with South Cobb to provide free, volunteer-run tax assistance and preparation services on Mondays beginning February 3rd and ending April 14th. The hours will be from 10 until 2 each week on Mondays. Appointments are required. This is the first time that we've had this service in the South Cobb region since 2006 because our community had to go to other places, but now we have it there, so please take advantage of it. The Vinings Library this year is getting a $750,000 facelift. Now, we are still hoping for a South Cobb expansion. We do need your help. Please solicit your legislators, letting them know that we still need help for our South Cobb expansion, which will include expanded teen area, expanded area for the children, an expanded meeting room that will hold at least 2,000 people, and a technology center. So we need your help on that. Please remember that we do have other services other than books, and we invite you to come visit us in person or go online to cobbcat.org to see all the services that we provide for you at your library. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lehman. At this point in time, we'll move into, this says appointments, actual election. So one of the main reasons we're having this meeting today is in our charter, we're required to, on the first Tuesday of every January, to come together so that we can appoint, or so that we can swear in newly elected officials on the council, as well as choose a new mayor pro tem. So at this point in time, what we're going to do is, we don't have any, obviously, council members that are new, but we will be having an election for the mayor pro tem. This is item 8A. So at this point in time, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to open up the floor for nominations. We will then go through the election process. It's a simple majority of the council to determine who our next mayor pro tem is going to be for this calendar year of 2025. So at this point in time, I'm going to open the floor for nominations for mayor pro tem, and the floor is now open.
Mayor, I nominate Councilwoman Keisha Jeffcoat for mayor pro tem.
Thank you. Noted. Do we have any other nominations for mayor pro tem?
I wanted to nominate Councilman Ron Davis for mayor pro tem.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Noted. Do we have any other nominations on the floor?
I don't want to throw a third one in there, but do you want maybe? I'll nominate Councilman Ferguson.
Thank you. Do we have any other nominations for mayor pro tem? Oh, Councilman nominated Councilman Ferguson.
I don't decline the nomination.
All right. So, do we have any other? No, okay. Hearing no other, I'll go ahead and close the nominations on this. At this point in time, I think Councilman Davis would like to withdraw his name.
Yes.
Noted. So that leaves Councilwoman Jeffcoat and Councilman Ferguson. So again, simple majority vote. This now goes to a vote. So all those, we're going to go from Councilwoman Jeffcoat and then Councilman Ferguson. All those in favor of electing Councilwoman Jeffcoat to be mayor pro tem for 2025, please say aye.
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 Aye. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4. Having 4 votes, that's a majority. It ends the voting period. We already have a majority. Thank you for that. We will move on to item 8B. Congratulations, Councilwoman, for your election for mayor pro tem for a second term. Please. All right, next appointment we have is the amended agenda item that we put on there, which is for our sustainability, hold on. For Sustainability, Beautification, and Waste Director. We've, like most of our director roles we put out there, we searched far and wide for talent, where we could get them, where we could find them. I know this role was posted for quite some time on multiple different locations. We went through vetting process, a three-stage vetting process, I guess, once someone comes into the fold. At this point in time, I would like to turn it over to our acting city manager for tonight, our community development director, Juliana Ngochu, for just to lead us into this before we actually go vote, because I haven't officially made a nomination yet, but I'll receive a nomination from you.
Absolutely. Can everybody hear me? I know I'm not as loud as Tanks, but I'm super excited for this nomination because it's serendipitous that we would have the gift of having somebody with such a strong background in not just public works, but also somebody that brings a strong environmental background that can really look at what we're trying to do here with our solid waste area, and she hails from the city of Milton. Serendipitous tonight that we should have somebody here who can really take a good look at what we're trying to do and brings years of experience. Will bring a direct focus for what we want to have here for the city. We'll actually have an on-site person really looking and really digging into the contracts that we are trying to put in place, and also bring a really strong environmental spring to what we're talking about. But I don't want to have all the bragging rights because she is here today, and I would love to introduce, if the mayor will allow, the opportunity for us to meet Emily Groth.
Let's do that. Ms. Groth, the floor is yours, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you all for coming out, and Happy New Year. It is very serendipitous. I do hail from the city of Milton. I know Brian, sorry about that. I do hail from the city of Milton. I know Brian very well. It's pretty serendipitous tonight that I'm here tonight and accepting a potential nomination. This is a very exciting time, for lack of a better word, to step into this role. What we did tonight, I like to call it talking trash. It's not always a romantic conversation, not always a romantic topic, but it is one of the most important, and it's very nuanced, as you know. But I know with the leadership of our mayor and city council, we will work to ensure that your solid waste is managed reliably, affordably, and sustainably, and I look forward to doing that.
Great, thank you. You may want to hang up there for a minute. I hate to keep you up there, but it's the way we're going to play this thing out, because I do believe that we're ready. I am ready to make an appointment. It is good you're here tonight. Maybe you're here a couple of weeks early. You could have worked on this with us a little bit more, but now that hopefully we're going to have you, jump right in on this ordinance, talking about being ready for someone to come into work, right? So with that being said, I would like to officially nominate Emily Groth to be our inaugural director for sustainability, beautification, and waste for the city of Mableton. Do we have a second for that?
Okay, yes, I will second it.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if you're asking for it or if you were making a motion, so I will second it.
So, well, what I can do is I can actually go right into the vote. So I'll entertain a motion to accept my nomination and officially appoint Emily Groth.
I second.
We're voting, right?
Yeah, we're going to
make a motion.
Oh,
yes. I asked for a motion. I thought Ron just made a motion.
yeah, I just.
The second.
Oh, no, we've got a motion got to be made first.
Oh, okay.
Jump in.
You gonna make a motion?
Okay, well, I'd like to make the motion to, for the appointment of our new sustainability director.
That's the thing.
Emily Groth, okay.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of the appointment of Emily Groth, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it. Congratulations, Ms. Groth, on becoming our inaugural director. You may now give a speech about managing your role.
Thank you. Thank you for your time tonight. Looking forward to it.
Short and sweet. It's my style.
You're welcome. All right, with that said, you might want to start talking to Brian tonight, because.
Get to work.
All right, so, boy, this seems really out of order with everything that's going on tonight, but we're at item 9, which is our public comment section. So anybody that is here tonight for public comment, Madam Clerk, I'm assuming we have public comment cards?
Yes, I have 3 cards. It's a 2-minute time limit, and, excuse me, the first one is Sharon Bennett. And after Sharon is Sam Culbreth.
Good evening, Mayor, Pro Tem, council members, and attendees. I am Sharon Bennett. I've been a member of Cobb County for about 15 years, a resident, member of Faith Christian Center and South Cobb Business Association. I am a retired nurse after 43 years of ICU and administration, hospital administration, and I was catching up on my TV shows that I've missed all those years. And God placed something in my heart that I tried to resist because I was enjoying the couch that I just bought. I want to announce to you that we will be opening an educational center in South Cobb for women 18 to 35, teaching them career skills. Okay? Thank you. It will be free to them. There's no charge. So there's mentoring, counseling, interview skills, literacy, financial budgeting skills, things like that, okay? For information, you can go to our website, godsdaughtersdivine.org. Look under programs, and there's a registration link at the bottom. They can register online directly and send it to the email address on there, okay? So again, God's Daughters Divine. The whole thing is God's Daughters Divine Compassion Center. And so we're just trying to uplift the women here. Unfortunately, a lot of women in that age group, I think I read 60%, or from poverty to low income. So if we can improve that standing and take care of elevating and equalizing them a little bit more, it can improve our community, the families as a whole in South Cobb. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sam Culbreth, and after Mr. Culbreth is Denny Wilson.
Good evening, Mableton City Council and citizens. My name is Sam Culbreth. I am the current chairman of the Austell Community Task Force. Just to preface, and I'm not going to go too long-winded with our mission, but conversations like we've had here around waste management can be held in that particular community forum. We act as the voice of the community should the community decide to speak. And then so just wanted to reiterate, our meetings take place on the first Monday of every month at the South Cobb Rec Center. We do have a virtual option. It's at 7 p.m. We'd love for you to come and join us. The next one will be on February 6th. Just wanted to note also, we had a wonderful 2 events serving the South Cobb community around giving out toys to very deserving families. We were able to serve about 800 children spread across 400 families across 2 events in partnership with the Empty Stocking Fund and Marine Toys for Tots. So I just wanted to thank everyone that was a part of those efforts for bringing that together. And also, we are having this month, we're having our annual Martin Luther King Day community cleanup along the Adopt a Mile for the Austell Community Task Force, which will be taking place on January 20th at 9 a.m. I know it's going to be a little cold, but we're going to make sure we warm you up with some coffee. But we'll be meeting at the Destiny World Church at that time, off Factory Shoals Road, and we'd love for you to join us for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Do we have any more cards, Madam Clerk? One more? Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Denny Wilson.
Benny Wilson, District 2. I sincerely misspoke earlier, and I'm glad the young lady in the front seat corrected it, because I was told that on the trash service that you guys were not going to make a mandatory trash service. And that's been my concern, because senior citizens are very worried about that. Because again, you have a bunch of senior citizens in Mableton that only get $1,000 a month in income. Some of their homes are paid for, some of their homes are not. So if you force a trash service on them, I'm gonna tell you now, you're gonna lose a lot of votes when you come back up for re-election. I mean, because you're imposing something on them that they cannot afford. So I'm asking you guys to please do not do that. I mean, do not do it. I mean, because that's gonna make the difference between seniors staying in their home and them not. And last but not least, we had a major storm. They called it a storm. I think it was a tornado, because it woke me up at 4 o'clock last Sunday morning. And I mean, I was terrified. I mean, because I had never heard anything like that before in my life. I don't know if any of you guys have been down Six Flags Road, but all the trees that it didn't bring up by the root, it leaned them over to the side. I mean, it took the top off the buildings. There are seniors that live along that road. So I tried last week to go and to check on them, to make sure, you know, that we got one home there. The lady there is 97 years old. She lives alone. And I had to call DOT to make sure that someone went out, because she has an electronic gate. And she couldn't even get out of her gate. She couldn't even get out of her yard. I mean, and I had to get the neighbor next door to jump the fence to go over to make sure that she was okay, because she's 97 and she lives alone. So when we have major storms like that, I'm not saying you guys wasn't there. Just because I didn't see you doesn't mean you wasn't there. But I didn't see anything on Nextdoor. I didn't see anything on Facebook. I didn't see any information about that storm from District 1, District 2, District 3, which are right there in the path of the storm. I didn't see any comments or any conversations from any of you guys about that. And it's just not right. Reach out to the community and let them know that you care. Because right now, people's homes have been destroyed. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
No more cards.
Thank you, ma'am. At this point in time, we're going to close public comments and move on with the agenda. Next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. There's 3 items on there. That's the approval of the December 9th work session minutes, approval of December 11th regular meeting minutes, and the approval of December 11th work session minutes. All those, at this point in time, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on this? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Hearing no nays, the ayes have it. We're going to move on to the item 12. Item 11 is unfinished business, which we don't have any. New business, item A is consideration and approval of resolution updating the City of Mableton's classification and pay plan for other lawful purposes. Again, this is a resolution that I've said many times we're going to continue to come back to as we grow as a city, as we add employees, but also as we build departments. We're going to continue to find needs within that. So I don't see Candace isn't here, right?
No, she's not here.
Unfortunately.
Oh, that's right. She had an auto
Unfortunately,
issue.
she's unable to be here this evening.
Ms. Njoku, go ahead and take the floor, please.
Yes, Council, we are seeking an amendment regarding the paying class for specific positions. These positions, we are trying to add or make sure that we have the qualified pay scale to be able to get high-quality candidates in order to assist us with the transition. Sir, would you want me to go through each position that we're looking at this evening? Or has the council?
The council had had seen all of the positions. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to entertain a motion to approve it, and then can have some discussions if there's any questions specifically. With that being said, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the resolution updating the City of Mableton's classification and pay plan of the lawful purposes.
Mayor Owens, I would like to ask that we have discussion before making an approval for the resolution.
The motion's been made, we will have discussion. Absolutely. Do I have a second on this?
I second.
Thank you. Discussion, I'm assuming Councilwoman, you have, if you have anything, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so some of these new positions is program manager, chief of staff, administrative supervisor. Seems like a lot of positions that sound like they do the same job.
No, ma'am. Would you like for me to address the positions that you highlighted? Absolutely. So the chief of staff that we're looking at is to provide supervisory coverage over the office of the mayor. As our city is growing, there's more activities that's happening between the council's office and as well as the office of the mayor. So a designated chief of staff actually gives a supervisory role different from an executive assistant that has no supervisory role or no capability to make supervisory decisions coming out of the mayor's office. If you're looking at also the program manager, as we are seeking to onboard a a director for economic development, we realized that in the previous classifications that there was no support staff for that position. To support the onboarding of a director, we wanted to provide them with an additional staff member to support them so that they can hit the ground running and be able to have additional support staff to be able to handle a lot of the economic development issues economic development programs that the City of Mableton is planning to undertake. And I believe the third position was, Councilwoman?
Administrative supervisor. And if you don't mind, could you put the microphone, I'm a little hard of hearing, I think.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
is this
that's
better?
good.
Sorry, I took a lozenge, thanks. All right, let me take a step back. And for the administrative supervisor, what we've realized is that the city managers has not had any administrative assistance in managing all the administrative staff. So currently, as the city of Mableton is growing, we are looking to be able to move the executive assistants or administrative assistants positions to direct supervisory assistants that can take on either staff help or provide any supervisory support for two of our top positions, including your office as well. So this position is to serve under the city manager, and it's to serve as sort of the office manager over administrative staff and administrative affairs. It's a way to make a more clean viewpoint for this position, taking it away from just being an administrative assistant. So we're changing the classification from a simple administrative assistant position to an administrative supervisor that allows them to be able to work over all the other administrative staff, administrative needs, and operations. As you know, we're planning to have 2 offices. We're talking about that between 6116 and Veterans Memorial Road Highway. This position will also allow the city manager to have a staff member to be able to administratively assist both of those office areas and have the capacity to do so. So that's why those positions were reclassed or are being recommended for reclass. One, the reclass from an EA to a chief of staff, so as to provide supervisory powers over the office of the mayors and all the other staff or interns that might come there. A reclass from another administrative assistant position to administrative supervisor to better assist the city manager in handling administrative duties, especially between the 2 offices, and the addition of a program manager to support the economic development and economic development initiatives for the city of Mableton.
Are we rolling up our current executive assistants under the administrative supervisor?
They would be able to provide support for the current administrative assistants because they would be able to have supervisory capacity. So whereas an AA is tasked, a supervisors would be tasked to be able to make sure that all of them are working in line to be able to address each one of the offices or departments that they work for.
And can you clarify what the chief of staff is going to do? And second question, the difference between the program manager and our current special projects manager?
Absolutely. The chief of staff has more of the capacities to act on behalf of the mayor's office. A chief of staff will be able to work and be able to manage the staff that works underneath the mayor's office, to include interns, different from an executive assistant. An executive assistant attends specifically to the mayor, but does not attend specifically to the office of the mayor. One works for the office of the mayor and all that would fall underneath it as the chief of staff. The other attends specifically to just the mayor. So this broadens the scope in preparation for the growth of the office of the mayor, and this allows that person the supervisory capabilities to do so. As far as the program manager, I said, and the difference between that and a special projects manager, is that
Yes, what their roles are going to be.
Absolutely. The program manager for this specific addition is specifically working on economic development initiatives for the city of Mableton. They'll be working underneath the director of economic development, and their primary target focus is to support economic development initiatives to be able to provide additional support. The special projects coordinator works for the office of the city manager, and they work specifically on large-scale initiatives, similar initiatives as what we've been what our current special project manager has had in dealing with things with large-scale projects like vehicle acquisition, or large-scale projects that would have to do with assisting the mayor and the city manager and the council with any major projects. One is dealing with major projects, the other one is specifically supporting the director of economic development.
I have a question. I know that right now we have an office manager. Is there overlap in responsibilities with the office manager and the administrative supervisor? I know right now, you know.
Let's not talk specific personnel.
I didn't.
Okay, I'm just.
Oh, yeah. So, yes, if you can provide distinction between that. I know some of our roles can be a little ambiguous, and you know, they're operating cross-functionally. I just want to make sure that our org structure stays flat, and that you know, there's not duplicate effort in that. So can you just explain the distinction between the office manager and the administrative supervisor role?
Who's the office manager?
Absolutely. With an office manager is usually a designated person designed to deal specifically with the office or with an office. As we're creating more departments, we're creating more administrative staff. The administrative supervisor for the office of the city manager has now the authority to work with all the administrative staffs for all the departments that all the offices that we are now putting into play. Whereas an office manager is a designated individual for an office. So one is narrow to make it simpler. One role is narrow, one role is broad, which also allows us to be able to have uniformity across the board in the administration of the many or the different offices that we plan to take on board, as opposed to somebody dealing just exclusively with one office or one individual. They will now be dealing with the administrative support across the board for our administrative staff, for our office of the mayor, for our office of our city manager.
Thank you.
I had a quick question. I'm sorry. Did you
Yes.
had another question? Okay. I noticed that we increased our code enforcement, like supervisor to 2. Is there any reason why is this aspirational or something? Because don't we only have like 3 or 4 staff for code enforcement?
Yes, what we've realized in adding an additional supervisor is that there are specific aspects to having code enforcement and then having inspections. One kind of works hand in hand with the other. In preparation for taking on code enforcement, we are now implementing our capacities to start preparing to also take on inspections because they're almost married. It's hard to go out and see a situation that requires an enforcement of our ordinance without wondering whether this situation has been fully inspected and meet the inspection standards of our ordinance or for the state or for the county. So the additional supervisor is being added to start creating a cross-functionality between inspections and code enforcement. One will be dealing with the establishment of code enforcement and the administration of our code enforcement. The other one will be dealing with inspections, which also supports community development. A lot of the things that we do out of the community development department do require us to inspect, whether it's revenue inspectors for revenue recovery, or whether it's inspections as we're taking on zoning, planning and development. We need inspectors to be able to go out there to ensure that people are meeting the quality standards or the standards that are going to be or are being created through our plans, our comp plans, and our future land use. So we're adding a supervisor there to be able to grow that position and create a cross-functionality between somebody that goes out to enforce our codes and another position that actually strictly focus on all the things that we have to inspect to make sure that they meet the standards that that is required for development or zoning or revenue recovery here in the city of Mableton.
All those in favor of approving the city's classification and pay plan and for other lawful purposes, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Thank you. The one nay, the ayes have it. Let's move on to our second item of new business, which is consideration and approval to authorize the mayor to approve and negotiate agreement in substantial form with the company Interface Systems LLC for the AV installation at 1245 Veterans Memorial Highway. Special Projects Manager Ross is already on his way to the podium. Floor is yours, sir.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to be real brief in the explanation of it. So last month I came before you all and we presented the package for our low voltage and AV for 1245. This month we're back to make an amendment to the servicer. So the price point will not change. For what it's worth, this is not a net new. There's no changing in the spending, but however, we are annexing a portion of the work over to Interface to make sure that we stay on track. We will still keep the same company, NCI, and they will do the low voltage, but the actual AV installation portion of the work will be converted over to Interface. And so staff's recommendation is for the approval of Interface to be added to the work order. And like I said, there will not be a cost change involved from what we've already asked. I'm done asking for money for low voltage.
Is this change strictly due to a timeline constraint?
Well, after last month's agreement, you all gave the go-ahead for us to begin negotiations, which obviously that looks different than the proposal. And once we got into negotiations, we found out that there were some things that they were not going to be able to give us to the standard that we wanted. I.e. particular equipment, particular pricing on equipment, and installation timeline window. So after we went back to the drawing board and rehashed some things that we were able to say, if you all can handle our low voltage, which they already are doing now in 6116, we'll take care of the AV portion, and the Interface bid for that comes in within the window, the projected window that I asked for last month.
I do have a question about this, but I think it's mainly I want to make sure that because we are engaged with the architect who's building it, or the company that's building it out, which is the store owner, I think, right? Their team.
For this location, yes.
Yes, for this location. Is NCI a part of this project? At 1245 at all?
Yes.
They are?
Yes.
But they're not going to be part of this AV, which is the multi-purpose room?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
The only question I have is, I haven't seen it, and being a techie, like, do we have a design?
We want the design.
No, that comes after the agreement. No, we haven't gotten that far. The only thing that's been designed out is 1245 as far as the building infrastructure, not the IT, not other than what we just done the schematics on what we want, the tentative design, but not the operational grid as far as what will be built out. That'll be forthcoming.
So in this document, it says that 65% is due before any work is done. Does that include design work?
Yes, but that will also, but we're nowhere near we're nowhere near that portion of it yet. Actually, part of the agreement is that's what they proposed to us. The negotiation will be that we actually do the design work before we pay anything to them for that, because they're going to have to come out and do. They've got to come out and do their site visit first before they can even drill down on what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
But I'll make sure I get that added to the actual agreement before.
Please.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Councilman Ferguson, this does state that in this motion here to negotiate the agreement, part of that negotiated agreement will be that they'll have to have a design before we move forward. It doesn't say that. I'm saying part of the negotiated agreement will include that. All right. Any other questions of our special project manager? Hearing none, thank you, sir. I'd like to go ahead and entertain a motion to authorize the mayor to approve and negotiate an agreement in substantial form with the company Interface Systems LLC for AV installation at 1245 Veterans Memorial Highway.
I move to authorize the mayor to approve and negotiate agreement in substantial form with the company Interface Systems LLC for AV installation at 1245 Veterans Memorial Highway.
Thank you, Mr. Manate. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. We've had substantial conversation. Is there any other questions, comments about this? Hearing none, I'll call.
Yes,
go ahead,
only that I want to make sure that we are doing the due diligence to actually know what it is that we're putting in these locations, and that we are, like, make me feel comfortable that our network looks like we want it to look. Make me feel comfortable that the AV stuff that we're putting in there makes sense. And just giving me this document and then saying approve it, and then you go do, doesn't make me feel comfortable.
Yeah, it's not. I can assure you that, because it gives me the ability to negotiate the agreement. And quite frankly, we got an agreement sitting on the table right now that I have not signed from another vendor, because I have not seen the design yet, and I still have not signed it. So I will state the same thing with this. If we don't have a design, this is an approval to go negotiate the agreement. This is not for them to go do the work. If we don't have a design, I will say right now, on record, I won't sign that agreement.
And then I'll say on record that if I don't see the design, I won't approve it.
Fair enough. All those in favor of approving this authorization for the mayor to approve negotiate agreement in substantial form with Company Interface Systems LLC for the AV installation at 1245 Veterans Memorial Highway, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it. Thank you. We'll go to item 12C, which is consideration and approval of a resolution authorizing the mayor to waive fines and fees, and this is related to business licenses. It doesn't say in here, but council, this is something that's came in front of us multiple times. It was several times where I was initiating the ask to waive the fees for our businesses. There's times where our attorney has asked that we waive fees for our local businesses. And tonight we have the pleasure of having our community development director, who's now responsible for business licenses, yet again to ask for the authorization for the mayor to waive fines and fees. I'm going to say this very simply. The reason that this keeps coming up is that we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can for our businesses to make sure this transition from the county to the city is as smooth as possible. And having businesses going back and forth between this building and Marietta to get business licenses, onboarding new software, just to change from having a city. I mentioned earlier that having change is hard. So we are being, I think, overly nice, overly compensating to our businesses to ensure that we're doing everything possible that they have an opportunity to come into compliance and be able to get a business license with us with the least amount of confusion and chaos as possible. now that we do have a community development director and a full business license division, I feel very confident and comfortable that, and I'm in office often, and I see people coming in and processing their business licenses, but I guess I'm kind of making the ask for you to the council, because I do realize it is important, and I want to make sure that we extend this out. But from an operational perspective, Ms. Njoko, I do want to allow you to take the floor, because this ask here doesn't give a specific timeline around it.
Yes, sir. The timeline that we're asking is up until March 1st. And the reason why we're asking that is because we are in another kind of transition. We are moving into a new office, hopefully relatively soon. And then, so therefore, we're asking our residents to also make another adjustment with us. We are onboarding more services, we're onboarding more things. And the reason why I'm asking also, on top of the things that, Mayor, that you have stated, the transitional things that we've had to put into play as far as technology in our process, is that we're also making this ask because it's worked. Giving people time to be able to get to our office, to be able to transition from going from one office to another, in seeking to be able to effectively run their business, has allowed them the opportunity to find some quality service. We've seen, just from the last time that I reported at the end of last year, which was December 11th, to now, just not even a month later, almost $700,000 worth of increase, because people have taken the time to come because it's worked, because we've been able to give them the opportunity to get to our office, and we've been able to provide them with a full service model where we can sit with them, walk with them, or allow them to be able to catch up. Since it's worked, where people have had a little bit more time to work with us, as we've been adding and implementing new technology, new staff, now we're going to be adding new offices. I'm graciously asking for this one last time.
I don't know.
I'm graciously asking for this time. I'm going to say one last time, because Lord knows. But I'm graciously asking for this time because I'm looking at the actual timeline of what is going to be transpired with our office. If all is going well as we have planned out, we will be moving into another office, announcing another office, and onboarding our technology to that office. There might be some glitch days, there might be some tough days, there might be some bumps and bruises along the way, and we anticipate that. So in anticipation of that, between now and March 1st is why we are graciously asking the council to consider authorizing the mayor to be able to provide this exemption from fees, knowing that I'm going to put on the record that after that, that our residents should be aware that we will be providing you with the same fees indicated in our ordinances, which is a 1.5% interest rate will be added to your fees. And after that March 31st, a 10% penalty will be added to your fees as well. But prior to that, since we are anticipating that we are going to be making moves and transitions, we do not want to burden you with also penalties as well. This is my ask.
Thank you. With that being said, council, I'd like to entertain a motion for approval of resolution authorizing the mayor to waive fines and fees. And can we, I think we should amend this to say March 1st.
It does? Oh. The
It
top of it?
No, I'm looking at
Oh.
the motion itself.
Okay. Make a motion for approval of a resolution authorizing the mayor to waive fines and fees until March 1st.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further conversation, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the resolution authorizing the mayor to waive fines and fees until March 1st, please say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it. Thank you. This takes us to, I think, the last order of business this evening, which is 13A, which is House Bill 581. It was brought up earlier by our school board member, Mr. Trey Hutchins, about 581. As many of you know and understand, this discussion about law that was passed by the General Assembly relating to the floating options sales tax And the way it states right now is that cities, specifically Mableton, we have until March 1st to decide if we want to opt in or not. In council, I mean, quite certain you guys have received that deck right there that our community development director has. That deck was put together in a combination with ACCG as well as GMA, which provides all the legal ins and outs of House Bill 581. It was also used as I think the base document for a meeting that was held 2 weeks ago at the county. The reason I bring that up is because those are two important critical pieces that we're going to use and will evaluating what we want to have our decision to be as it relates to House Bill 581. As it relates to tonight, I want to make sure we get on record, first and foremost, that everyone has a copy of that deck, and then that you have a link to the video of the meeting that took place in Marietta relating to this. With those two things being true, Mr.
Are you asking?
Yes, we are asking.
Okay. When was it sent?
Yeah.
October 3rd.
This deck was created October 3rd in the Cobb County presentation, and was shared shortly thereafter.
And I believe the presentation is actually available online on Cobb TV YouTube.
Oh, it is. I was
Yeah,
just
the
asking.
link, video link. Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, I think what's pertinent today is that as a council, that we have all the information that's at least been put out about this, and that we have the next couple of weeks to review this information, to be able to come back with questions relating to House Bill 581. That video was pretty insightful as to what that is, and then make up our mind. I know there was discussion earlier about certain municipalities are opting in or opting out, and school boards, and everyone has that decision to make as well as us. It does have long-term implications. The root of this is about property tax increases, and tying those property tax increases to the CPI, Consumer Price Index, to ensure that we don't have huge fluctuations in our property taxes. However, there's a couple of things that are unique about that. In order to take advantage of that FLOST, you have to have a property tax. And hopefully every one of you here, obviously on the council and staff knows, but to everyone that's watching, everyone that's here, Mableton is the only city in Cobb County that does not have a local property tax. We do not assess a property tax. Every other city in the county does. Thus far, we do not. That is not a declaration to say that we never will, but it is to say right now, tax-wise, this is the cheapest place in Cobb County to live, because we do not have a property tax. But that is limiting. Not having a property tax is limiting in many ways. Some of those we talked about tonight, how limited it can be. But because of that, that does cause us to have some options here when it comes to this. I'm not going to sit here tonight and make a public statement about whether I think we should opt in or opt out, but I do want to make sure that everyone has the information necessary. And I'll say to anyone watching and the constituents that are out there, get an opportunity to read about what HB 581 is, do so, and pass your thoughts on to myself as the mayor or the city council, your city council person, as it relates to this. We do have a decision to make this coming up soon, and we wanted to make sure this was on the agenda tonight to make sure that everyone was clear of what the deadline was, and to have an opportunity to make sure you knew where the information was about that.
What's the opt-in and opt-out deadline now?
March
For
1st.
both opt-in and
Yes.
opt-out?
Yes. We have to notate whether we're going to.
Ah, okay.
So we will have another council meeting prior to that, obviously. All right.
Mayor.
Oh,
Mayor.
absolutely. Yes,
So
ma'am.
I'm sending the council a link right now to GMA's website, and it's very
Yeah.
comprehensive. It has a lot of information on this House bill. So I'll send it to you shortly. I'm actually typing out the email right now.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? No? And GMA again continues to be a resource. So if there are questions in the interim related to that, I'm sure we could get in touch with our GMA representative to see if they could provide some insight on anything specific that we may have. So there's no other discussion with that. We'll move on to our comments for the evening. We'll start with our Community Development Director, Juliana Njoku.
I've talked enough, no comment, but thank you for the opportunity to serve.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you for standing in for our city manager tonight.
Cheers.
Madam Attorney.
No, I have nothing further, Mayor.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
No comment.
Thank you. Councilman Davis.
Just quickly, again, welcome aboard, Ms. Emily. Yeah. I'm bad with that. I remember faces, but I'll get your name. But welcome aboard. Welcome to the team. We really appreciate you coming on board. So thank you for that. I hope everybody had a great holiday. Happy New Year to you. My heart goes out to those who were affected by the storm. And I did tour the area, made a few calls to make sure that people were okay. But just a reminder not to take what we call life for granted, because I lost a good high school buddy the day after Thanksgiving, celebrated Thanksgiving, and never woke up the next day. So, you know, share love with your loved ones. Make sure that you tell them that you do care. And like the Bible says, the model that Jesus wanted us to love one another. So just kind of my little 2 cents in terms of life lessons, because life is short and it is precious. So live it to the fullest, but never take it for granted. And good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Oladapo.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone, and a Happy New Year to all of you. Just following what Councilman Davis just said, my heart goes out to everyone impacted, including myself. We lost a portion of our 200-foot fence, so that's one of the impacts in the area, and I did speak with some of the residents as well who were impacted, and hopefully we can rebuild soon. And I also want to welcome Ms. Emily to the team. We're so happy to have you here. I'm excited about all of the great things that we have planned for 2025. And lastly, I want to commend everyone that came out here tonight, just for your profound engagement on the solid waste ordinance. I've received a lot of emails, a lot of calls, we've received input, and it just goes to show that the residents care about the services that we're providing, and our goal is to make sure that you all have a wonderful quality of life. And I, myself, I'm just so dedicated to make sure that we find a solution that works for everybody. So I do thank you all for your engagement. I've gotten calls, I've gotten emails. It means a lot to know that we're not in this alone. And, we're crafting a solution together that will work for us in the next, coming years and decades. So thank you all for coming out tonight, and have a wonderful and safe travels back home. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem.
Good evening, everyone. It's so great to see you all here tonight. I hope you had a relaxing and fun holiday season. Personally, I think it went by a little too quickly. But here we are in the new year, and we are looking forward to doing some amazing things in this next couple of months. I do want to thank you all for your public comments today. As the mayor was saying, change is hard, but I believe it's necessary. I hear you loud and clear. I appreciate you taking the time to express your concerns, your ideas, your recommendations, especially regarding our seniors and waste management. And also, thank you for advocating for small businesses. We really do appreciate their business, and of course, we definitely want to create a fair, diverse marketplace so that one major conglomerate or one large hauler isn't monopolizing the market. I think that's very important. And I also think it's important for us to take an opportunity to educate our constituents so that we can dispel a lot of the myths that are out there. So I do want to thank you, Mr. Warren, for doing that, for educating us and giving us the information so that we can design the best viable waste and sustainability program with the proper controls and measures in place, as well as audits, because I think audits are viably important, and the data that you mentioned there as well. I love what we said about refining and massaging and refining and optimizing. So all of that is important. We need to implement innovative ways to be able to look at what we want to do with our trash. And that may entail looking at, from a technological standpoint, incentivizing our residents for recycling, things of that nature. So we need to get a little bit creative when we're doing that. We got a lot of work to do, but we just need to keep going and keep doing whatever's in the best interest of our residents. I do want to welcome you, Emily. I'm glad you're here. I love what you said about talking trash, and we appreciate that. That's great. Congratulations also to District 3, Trey Hutchinson, on your re-election. We just really appreciate all that you do for us, and I enjoy collaborating with you. I know we have a lot of work to do, and just thank you for the work that you're doing for your service. I believe Councilman Davis is on a panel tomorrow, and we'll be discussing economic development. So I just want to put that out there for the South Cobb Business Association. So that's important. And then a winter weather update. We've already talked about what's happening with the tornado. We've seen the temperature drop significantly, and according to the latest forecast, we're going to get some snow in Georgia. I don't know if you guys remember a couple years ago in 2014, we had Snowmageddon. And so I just want to make sure that you all know to stock up on your essentials, check on your neighbors, stay informed, be cautious on the road, and just make sure you have all of the necessities that you need. They haven't announced anything as of yet. It may change, but it's forecasted that we're going to get 5 to 6 inches of snow. So 80%, yeah. And then I want to say I'm deeply humbled, filled with gratitude as I reflect on this past year serving as the Mayor Pro Tem. And it's been a year of learning, of growth, and a lot of progress for our city. And I do want to thank you just for trusting me with this role. And I understand that your confidence in me is a privilege. And so I don't take that lightly. Over the course of the year, we've had a lot of challenges. We've also accomplished a lot together. We had a lot of milestones. We've hired some top talent. And, they're helping us to build and strengthen our city for the future. And we've made some strategic decisions to bring in the professionals who share in some of the same vision that we have for our city. And that's important, right, to fill these key positions and make sure that we align our leadership and just strengthen our partnership across the board. In my time as Mayor Pro Tem, I've had the privilege of stepping in for the mayor when he wasn't able to attend the events. I've learned a great deal, and presiding over some of those meetings have given me a deeper understanding of the responsibilities, and it's been eye-opening. And so I know what you do isn't easy. So I thank you for the learning process. I had to get smart quickly, adapt to the changes and adjust. And so we are moving forward in this new year, and I hope that I can continue to emulate leaders like Dr. King and President Carter. They remind us of what leadership is. It's not about titles, it's not about power, it's about service, it's about integrity, and a genuine desire to lead the world better. So, thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Councilwoman Alt.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. Congratulations, Emily Groth, for your appointment to our Waste and Beautification. As you can tell, our city cares very much about that topic, and so we look forward to the work you have to bring here. I want to thank all the citizens who participated in public comment tonight. It was very invaluable, and for the emails and phone calls, and this is probably the most engaged public hearing we've had to date. So I think it does make an impact, and it is important. I'm glad we were all here together to discuss it and hear what you have to say about it. Since trash and beautification is the theme of the night, I also want to give recognition to the citizens who participated in some litter cleanups this past weekend. The Friends of Mableton, led by District 5 citizen Christy Vaughn, and Greg Thiemann, who is here tonight, also helped out with that cleanup for in the historic Mableton district. Also, the Boy Scouts Troop Number 22 cleaned Cooper Lake Road. So thank you to Boy Scouts and to all the volunteers who helped this past weekend. Last but not least, I want to thank Mayor Owens for his work on the trash ordinance and for facilitating engaging our haulers. It's been a very important topic to my district. When I was campaigning and got a donation, I actually had on one of the memo line, "Don't touch my trash." Okay, so it was very important to citizens that they got to keep a competitive market and maintain their ability of choice. And so I really appreciate the efforts you've done to make sure that that is happen. So thank you, Mayor Owens.
Thank you. You're welcome.
And just be a reminder, we have inclement weather possibly coming. Don't hold your breath, but it could happen. You know, snow, I'll believe it when I see it. So there might be snow this Friday, so be ready for that. So thank you all again, and that is all I have to say for tonight.
Thank you. Councilman Ferguson.
Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. I am ecstatic for the road ahead. We've got a lot of work to do here in the next 3 months, and I'm ecstatic with who we have sitting around this table. There's a quote from a TV show I love, Lost, but it says, "Sometimes good command decisions get compromised by bad emotional responses." I'd say that because we want to hear from everybody. Always know how your words come to people in our positions. Understand that realizing that we are having some of these conversations that we have, don't come to me and say, "Well, you don't care about citizens." The only reason that I'm here making $20,000 a year, sleepless nights, reading through ordinances, reading through all this, is because I care about citizens. So this year, we're going to all work together to be the community that I said we were going to be when we were campaigning. And that means loving your neighbor, talking nicely to your neighbor. Don't call me and cuss me out because of a pothole that magically appeared. But to just let me know, hey, there's a pothole over here. Your words matter. And the way that you come off to people and the way that you start off conversations really, really does matter. So I love you all. I appreciate you all. Congratulations to our Mayor Pro Tem, Keisha Jeffcoat, on becoming our Mayor Pro Tem for the second year. And thank you.
Councilwoman
All right.
Herndon.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ma'am.
All right, it's going to be short because everyone's already said everything that I wanted to say. But Happy New Year to everyone. And 2025 feels extremely exciting to me. You know, when I was looking up the year of 9, it talks a lot about transformation and growth. And I think that's where we are in terms of the city. I mean, we are transforming, we're growing, and I'm really excited to see how much we're going to get accomplished this year. Trash from the beginning of Mableton becoming a city has been probably the #1 topic. And I knew that this was going to be one where people were going to come and you know, let their voices be heard, because trash, you know, it's important. It really is important. And I'm really excited to see how everything is going to come together once we finish, like you say, massaging, you know, the terms and everything. So I know that one of the biggest things outside of fees, what I heard most from constituents is about sustainability and about the environment, about recycling and things of that nature. So I'm ecstatic that we have someone who's going to be filling those shoes, and I'm excited to have your input into how we as Mableton can achieve our objective of being an environmentally prudent city. So I'm excited to see that. And I thank everyone for coming out tonight and letting us know how you feel. And I always say, we hear you. You know, oftentimes we may not say a whole lot, but trust me, we take your words and we go back and we have discussions about that. And we want to make sure that we incorporate in our decision-making what's important to you. So you have been heard tonight, and I thank you all for coming. And that's it for me.
Great. Well, now everything truly has already been said. But I'll just wrap by saying thank you to everyone for coming. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for having your voice. For those of you who was around from the very beginning of wanting to start the city, was because we wanted to have a voice. We wanted to be able to do this, what took place tonight. We didn't have that option before. We've never been able to come together as a city to talk about the future of our city with people that was representing us. So I'm proud of. This is a special night. I'm happy to see this take place. I'm happy that we're in the place that we are. I'm excited as well about where we're going. Most of everything has already been said. I was down here last week when the storm came. I actually tried to confirm whether it was actually a tornado or not, because I think it was. I don't think the Weather Meteorology Association said that it was, but when you look at the damage that was done, you see trees twisted off halfway up. That's a pretty good indication that there was probably a tornado. And I did get on the horn with our DOT director, Cobb DOT director, about making sure that they knew where the outages were, where the trees were knocked down. So we will continue to do better as far as communicating with our residents and let them know what's going on. But I know from 2 days after I became mayor, and I remember seeing Councilman Davis down there with fire at an apartment complex, and then not long after that, unfortunately, another fire. So rest assured, if there's something happening, and I will say this blanket statement: if you don't think we know about it, get on the horn and let us know. I can tell you the relationship that I have with our Cobb EMS and our fire and police is good. They generally notify me of what's going on, and I try to get information out to our council. They've included our city manager in that as well. So we will continue to work to get better as we move forward. And I just want to end by saying I'm excited as well about where we're going for 2025. I know our city manager is not here, but if he was here, he would tell you about the new buildings that we're moving into. And I had the opportunity to go by and take a look at them, and it is progress, right? We are getting closer and closer to having a space that we can call our own in this city. So there's an operational office that's going to be at 6116 Mableton Parkway. The drywall is up in there, and it's really starting to look like an office now. And there's progress that's being made at 1245 Veterans Memorial as well, where the administration office will be. I will continue to sing the praise of the Epicenter and thank them for allowing us to be here, but nothing's like having a home on your own. So that's the update on that front. And with that being said, again, thanks everyone for coming tonight. Please have, and we hope to see you then. Thanks a lot. At this point in time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
No, ma'am.
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
No executive session. Good.
I was like,